So now we're sort of going to combine a whole bunch of lessons into one where we could show the relationship between a fraction, a decimal, and a percent. They are three different ways to write the exact same amount. All right, so it said this is an issue for the test. This is good practice for the test. It says fraction to decimal. So don't make it a percent, right? Make it a decimal. So 1/2 decimals are over 10, 100, or 1,000. So, right, every 1/2 you've memorized is 0.5. It's a terminating decimal, right? Anytime it's 1/2 or 1/4, you're more than welcome to just write the answer. 1/2 is 0.5, 1/4 is 0.25. Convert the decimals to percents. Now, we can just learn the shortcut where you move the decimal twice, and that's 50%. We learned a shortcut, move the decimal twice, and that's 25%. Now, let's now make the fraction to a percent. So we have learned you can just put this over 100. Right, and again, if you've memorized this, that's fine, and you make 50%. And 1/4, you put it over 100 every time it's a percent, and it's 25%. Now, what we're going to do today is sort of go, right, we're going to go step by step. You could have, instead of doing that, you could have made 1/2 into 0.5, then move the decimal twice, and made 50% that way. And this method is very helpful, especially with dealing with repeating decimals. So we're going to go over that method today. So 1/4, right, is the decimal 0.25. We just showed that up here. Move the decimal twice. It's also 25%. Fraction, decimal, percent. Fraction, decimal, percent. All right, so it says convert the fraction to a decimal and then to percent. So you have to show all three. Since you have to show all three, this is the method to go with. Okay, so we're going to make the decimal is over 10, 100, or 1,000. And since we can make that over 10, we're going to make that 2/10, which is 0.2. So we've done half of our work. And then we're going to use our shortcut, 1, 2, and so it's 20%. All right, so you need to show both the decimal and the percent each time. 5/4, all right, so we're going to make that a decimal, so we're going to go 1 and 1/4. Well, we know 1 and 1/4 is 1.25. We just did it, right? And so there's our decimal, and then we're going to move it twice, and we're going to make it 125%. 1/8, all right. We know this has to be over 1,000. This is the way you would do 1/8 anyway. It's 125 thousandths, which is 0.125. And 1/8 as a percent, move the decimal twice, oops, is 12.5%. 12.5% is 1/8. And that happens because you can't make it over 100. You have to make it over 1,000. What percent of the figure is shaded? Well, 3 out of the 8. So we're going to use our method, right? This method is good for repeating decimals. It's also very good for eighths. We're multiplying by 125. 3 times 125 is 375. So this is 0.375. Then move the decimal twice. If I want me to just show you this, right? It's 375 thousandths, which is 37.5%. So you're just asked for the percent there, but that is the way, when you ever have to make eighths into a percent, this is the way to go. Now, so we're going to turn this, right? We can't make this into a percent directly. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the division method, the slower method, right? And we're going to divide 1 divided by 3. Hopefully some of you remember what this answer is already from yesterday. And we're going to bring this down and put a bunch of 3's here. All right, so it is 0.3 repeating, but we now have to move the decimal twice. Now when you move the decimal twice in a repeating decimal, I highly recommend you do it here. And the reason is this, you'll see. So we move it twice, and what do we get as our percent? We get 33.3 repeating, because only the right side repeats, percent. Yeah, that's the exact percent. And I'm going to go over approximating and rounding that. Oh, and I'm not, because it says you have to round it. So what would the approximate whole number percent be? Well, that is, since this number is less than 5, right, you go to approximately, that's the approximately 33%. So let's make clear. This is the exact percent. This is rounded to the nearest whole percent, 33%. Let's do another one, 2/9. All right, so 2/9 is one of those repeating decimals. 9 doesn't go into 2, but 9 goes decimal straight up. 9 goes into 20 twice. 2 times 9 is 18. Remainder 2, bring down to 0. 9 into 20 goes twice. 2 times 9 is 18. Remainder 2, and so on. So this is 0.2 repeating. But again, you want to do the moving of the decimal point over here. And so this is 22.2 repeating percent, which is approximately 22%. Now, we'll go over more rounding of this in a little bit, but that is the method for turning a repeating fraction that's going to turn into a repeating decimal. Remember, anytime you got 3, 6, 9, and then the prime numbers like 7, 11, also 12, and it's 3 times table or upper prime numbers, you're getting repeating decimals if they're in your simplified fractions denominator. All right, so now what we're going to do is do fractions that need simplifying. Now, this method of turning, that's 12, that's on the 3 times table, but it's not simplified. But if you do 10 divided by 12, you're going to get a repeating decimal. But you can simplify this fraction and do 5 divided by 6. And which one would you rather do? They have the same answer. They make the same decimal. I'm going to do both of them, but I'm going to do the easier one first. 6 times 8 is 48. Remainder 2. In fact, we did this one the other day. 6 into 20 goes 3 times. 3 times 6 is 18. Remainder 2. Bring down the 0. 6 into 20. All right, and you get this. So you get 0.8 with 3 repeating. As I said on the last screen, I would move the decimal down here. So the percent is 83.3 repeating percent, and that's, since this last 3 here is smaller than 5, you're going to stay at 83%. So let me just show 10 divided by 12 is the same answer, but I don't think it's easy. 12 doesn't go into 10, decimal straight up, 12 into 100. Well, some of you don't know your 12 times table all that much, but we know the answer is 8. 12 times 8 is 96, borrowing, remainder 4, bring down to 0. 12 into 40, 3 times. 3 times 12 is 36, remainder 4. So you're making your life slightly harder by not simplifying that fraction. But if you don't, you still get the same answer. So 20 24ths. All right, so you can sit here and do 20 divided by 24. Or you can realize that both of those are divisible by 4, and you get the same answer. And if you did that, you saved yourself a lot of work, right? Because this is 0.8 with 3 repeating. 83.3 repeating percent is the exact answer, and it says round to the answer nearest whole percent, right? As in whole number, 83 is a whole number, or approximately 83%, right? But you could do 24 goes into 200. It does. It goes 8 times, and so on. So 30 students are asked their favorite sandwich. According to the table, approximately what percent liked ham and cheese the best? So this approximately right there is a dead giveaway. We're going to get a repeating decimal. So let's see. Ham and cheese. So ham and cheese is 7. So we're getting 7 out of 30. All right, 30 is on the 3 times table. So I'm going to get, right, because it's on the 3 times table, making 10, 100, or 1,000 is just not going to work. So it's 7 divided by 30. 7 has a decimal point straight up. Add a 0. 7 to 30 goes what? Twice. 2 times 30 is 60. No borrowing. Remainder, no borrowing. Remainder 10. Bring down a 0. 30 into 100 goes 3 times. 3 times 30 is 90. Remainder 10. Bring down a 0. And we're going to get 3's forever, it looks like here. So this is 0.2 with 3 repeating. Now we're going to move the decimal twice. I got yellow there. And I get 23.3 repeating percent. But it says what percent? Approximately. So that's exactly the answer. We're going to say approximately 23% liked ham and cheese the best. 7 out of 30. So let's practice. All right, so 4/5. Now we don't need the division method because that goes over 10, 100, or 1,000. 5 times 2, so that's 8/10. The decimal is 0.8. Move it twice. It's 80%. That is 7/8. Every time you have 8s, you're making it over 1,000. We're multiplying by 125. 125 times 7, 35. Then 14 plus 3 is 17. I'm getting 875 thousandths, which is 0.875. And the percent, move it twice, is 87.5%. Doesn't say approximate, so don't round that. Now, if you rounded it, it would round to 88, right? Once that's a 5 or bigger, you go up to the higher percentage. But I didn't ask that. So the answer would be 87.5%. That's the exact answer. And every time you've got eighths, you're going to get 0.5% of something. All right, we have a 3 on the bottom. Right, so we're going to use the division method. Now it's 5 divided by 3. It's the top divided by the bottom. This is more than 1. Right, so 3 goes into 5 once, remainder 2. 5 has a decimal point, straight up. Bring a 0 straight down. 3 into 20 goes 6 times. 3 times 6 is 18, remainder 2. Bring down a 0. 3 into 20, 6 times. 3 times 6 is 18, remainder 2. Bring down a 0. And we're going to get 6's forever. So the decimal here is 1.6 repeating. Okay, now, what percent is that? So we're going to move the decimal point up here, 1, 2. So it's more than 1, right? So we should get more than 100%. So it's 166.6 repeating percent. Now, what's the closest? Right, you have a 6 here. Is it closer to 166% or closer to 177%? I said that wrong. 167%. It's 160. This is bigger than 5, so you go approximately 167%. And by the way, you needed the decimal and this, right, in both. Convert the fraction to a decimal and round to the nearest whole percent. All right, so 2/11. 11 makes repeating decimals. So decimal straight up. 2 divided by 11. 11 goes into 20 once with a remainder of 9. Bring down a 0. 11 into 90 goes 8. I didn't leave myself enough room here. I'm going to start again. That's why you use pencil. So we get a remainder of 9. Bring down a 0. 11 into 90, 8. You get 88. Remainder, remainder 2. Bring down a 0. You get a 1. You get 11, you get a 9, bring down a 0, and you get 18, 18, 18 forever. This is 0.18 repeating. Again, move the decimal point twice here, so you see that it's exactly 18.18 repeating percent, but we're supposed to round that to the nearest whole percent, which is 18%. So 2/11 is 0.18 repeating, and it is around 18%. So Sally got 7 out of 9 on her English quiz. So 7 out of 9. Now 9 is going to make a repeating decimal, so 7 divided by 9. 9 doesn't go into 7. Decimal straight up, 9 is 70. 7 times 9 is 63. Remainder 7. Bring down a 0. 9 into 7. 7 times 9 is 63. Remainder 7. Yes, and we get 7's forever. And so we get 0.7 repeating, but that's not what it's asked. It's asked to make it a percent. So 1, 2, you get exactly 77.7 repeating percent, but I didn't ask that. Approximately what percent did you get correct? right? We're going to go up to 78%. So what grade is that? That's a high C, right? Like a C+. Now, one of the things you should figure out after this lesson is, right, most of your quizzes, right, or tests in classes have 5 questions, or have 10 questions, or have 20 questions. They might have 25. They might have 50 questions. They usually don't have more than that. Why is that? Because those are the numbers that make nice, easy percents. 2 makes, but I don't think most quiz questions have 2 questions. That's not that many. But your teachers are using the number of questions to easily turn them into percents for grading, because most people use a percents scale. If they use 9 questions on a test, they make their life way more difficult, because the percents, right, are much harder to calculate. They're much harder to record. You're going to record 77.7 repeating percent in the grade book. No, you're not. So they avoid repeating decimals and use these questions. Good luck on your homework.